Apparently there was another Scream film that came out. I don't know. Interesting. But I was thinking, what if they actually made a Scream movie that was subversive? Right, so a lot of the appeal of the first film, spoilers, by the way, was that you had, two killers, whereas normally there aren't two, and, some various other tropes that were turned on their head. My favorite part of Scream 5 was the opening scene, because I thought they were going to, kill off Jenna Ortega, and then when they kept her alive, I was like, oh, wow, that's not something they've done before, right? Opening scene is usually done to have a famous star, one of the more famous casting picks of the film, get killed and kind of set things off from there. And again, that ended up being my favorite scene of the whole movie, more so than the ones that featured, the returning characters, simply because it was something different, something I didn't expect, something that I didn't mind seeing turned on its head. But again, if I really had to think about it, I know people get sick of Ghostface targeting Sidney, and I don't think they're wrong for that. If you get 4 movies of different people, right, because Ghostface is always a different person, always targeting the same individual over and over and over and over again, I can admittedly see where that gets annoying. So if I'm doing a, hypothetical 5th, 6th, 7th film, right, because I already did my own version of what 5 would look like. Let's say this is 6 or 7. It's my own version of one of those. Some said after 4, obviously. But just let's pretend, this is some alternate sequel. You could have Ghostface be like, hey, look, I'm tired of Gail getting away with writing these books, with profiting off of other people's misery, with her being able to just essentially, make bank off the suffering of others. And, Sidney would kind of be someone that Ghostface doesn't really care too much all about. Like, in the sense that the Ghostface of this film would say, okay, you know what? Multiple people have tried to kill her, and they failed, so I'm probably not going to get any closer, so that's done, that's over. She's got some kind of streak with her that I'm not going to likely break, right? Have some, I'd like the villain to have some level of modesty. So they go after Gail instead, and, if Sidney gets involved, they will try to get to dispatch of her if she, gets, intervenes, but they're not targeting her out, they don't really care about her anymore. And that would be a big part of the movie, right? Having Gail get called over and over by Ghostface at her house, at her office, in her car, everywhere. Just Ghostface just always tries to contact her. Hey, how many copies did you sell? How many people went to your latest book signing? Did you know I was there? Just various things to mess with her. And again, it's like Sidney can still have a prominent role in the story. She can still have an arc in terms of accepting that, wow, even if I get away from this, I'm going to have to keep coming back to help out my friends or, the various people I care about that I don't want to see, now targeted in my place. And look, I know that in all the different Scream films, there's always that third act reveal. But I don't really understand why we can't have that happen a little bit earlier in the movie. Because, again, third act reveal, you get a few scenes, right, of the killer or killers expositing why they did this. One of them usually gets taken out pretty quickly after a short amount of time. And then the other one is, the lead star. I would prefer, first of all, one Ghostface. And, I understand, just as a writer, why you have so many films that have 2 at a minimum. Because it's a lot easier to play with the mystery of who is it this time when you don't have to always have to worry about, oh, crap, this person can't be here because they're also the killer. I get it, where it's easier to do that and make it seem like this person is not actually who we think they are based off there being more than one. I get it. But my thing is, you made 7 of these, and out of the 7 of them, only one time have you had a singular killer, which a lot of people didn't like because they felt that in 3, it was, oh, he's dead, except, oh, not really. Just that, it made it to where even if you tried to guess it, you would still be wrong for no fault other than the movie leading you astray on purpose. So again, in this attempt at being subversive, I'd have it be one killer who you would find out the identity of about halfway through the movie. And it would be someone who obviously has multiple scenes before that. But really, what would be so cool, because one of the things I liked about Scream 4 was basically having 2 endings, right, where this goes on even further at the hospital. I'd like it to where, maybe we see who they are, and then we as the audience know their real identity, but then the heroes don't, right? So like Gale, Dewey, Sidney, because they've been using some fake name or some crap. So, for example, Gale is able to give the police a sketch of what the person who attacked her looks like, but the police can't identify this person because they're using a fake name, and they're able to, blend in with the officers. Maybe they can kill a cop and take their uniform, just to kind of, again, play up the role of, even if you know who this is, they're still crazy. They still are coming to kill you. They're knowing who they are isn't really going to change all that much, especially if the cops, are not able to effectively protect you. And also, from what I'm remembering, again, I've only read the plot synopsises of 6 and 7, but as far as I can tell, every one of these always ends in like a building. Why not have one that's outside? Why not have it to where, this Ghostface captures, I don't know, one of the trio, right? It could be Dewey, it could be Sidney. I actually wouldn't mind if it was Sidney, because that would be a nice callback to the first film where Sidney and Gale technically save each other. But have Ghostface capture one of them. Say, hey, meet me in this forest alone. Of course, Gale's not actually going to go by herself. It's going to be kind of a little bit like, right, the conclusion of 3, but the added twist of also it being played straight, of Gale just going by herself, of accepting that she may have to die, that she'd rather die to try saving her, husband or friend, than to let them get killed. And imagine she shows up, and again, it could be Sidney or Dewey or both tied up, and they're by a big old stack of copies of her books. All the, because again, it's been several years since 4, so she might have written another book. All the different copies of books just stacked on top of each other, and Ghostface just emerges from behind these copies and starts, fighting her. Again, mask off, right? No point in having the mask anymore. I'm actually imagining like Gale versus, again, whoever this Ghostface is, where you can see their face and they're in the forest and she has to like blend into the shadows to sneak up on them to take them out. But yeah, this video is just really about me kind of bemoaning Scream, in the sense that I understand with any series, like with any story, there's going to be similar plot beats. And, with Scream, you're always going to have most likely a new killer, someone you've never seen before, never heard of prior to this movie, comes around. They go after whoever, Sidney or somebody else. But Scream, again, is not like Halloween or Friday the 13th or any of these other series, in the sense that there's not that many of them. It's got a pretty consistent set of multiple actors. And I really think you could make a lot more of these and still have it be something unique and different each time. This is just one example. I'm not the first person to say they should make a Gale-centric Scream film. That's been talked about for years. I'm just giving ideas of how they could do that and also make it different in some other ways, right? Having a finale that's outdoors, having a Ghostface that gets revealed earlier. Just spitballing some ideas.